Eric Trump or Ivanka Trump, who's here someplace, right here. And by the way, our great First Lady is home watching this. She said, "This is the most exciting thing I've seen in a long time." She's a great First Lady, doing a great job. She's doing a great job. We're doing a great job. The whole country now is doing a great job. So Biden takes $1.5 billion and he goes on and he allows China to rip us off. Remember he said a year ago, no, China's good. They've done nothing wrong. They're wonderful people. They are wonderful people. I don't blame China, by the way. I blame our leaders for allowing this horrible you-know-what and pillage. It's the R word. You-know-what and pillage. You know what word I'm talking about, right? I don't want to use it because they'll say it's a horrible word that Trump used. So the Bidens got rich while America got robbed. Tonight, we forcefully condemn the blatant corruption of the Democrat Party. And nobody ever pays the price with the Democrats. They're so deep-seated. They never pay the price. They never pay, but maybe soon that will start. You know, we've had a lot of Obama people and Clinton people and some, to be honest with you, we've had some pretty bad Republicans down deep that didn't exactly love us. But slowly they're getting out. They have all sorts of protections, but so he says, get rid of them. Yeah, we're trying. Get rid of them. But their partner in the whole thing is the fake news media. That's the problem. Because the Democrats and the fake news media, it's a partnership. Remember that. And you see it all the time. And I've never seen it to this extent. You know, when I won in the primaries, and then I won the election, I was treated horribly by the media. Horribly. And then when I won the election, we had the greatest night, one of the highest rated nights in the history of television all over the world. And I won and I said, oh, the great thing. I said to Ivanka, I said to the First Lady, I said to anybody that would listen, I said, listen, this is so great. Finally, we, all of us, we're going to be respected by the media. And you know what happened? They got worse. They're worse now than they ever have been. They're crooked as hell. They're worse now than they've ever been. They're crooked. The only message these radicals, and they are radical lefties, will understand is a crushing defeat on November 3rd, 2020. Save that date. With your help, we will win back the House, we will keep the Senate, and we will keep the White House in numbers like they haven't seen in a long, long time. Joining us tonight are many terrific Republican leaders, and they are terrific. And frankly, if they're not, I'm not going to introduce them, okay? But we have some great leaders, and you have great leaders in Texas. Great leaders. And they love Texas. So a friend of mine, a guy that a lot of people weren't so sure, we had this unbelievable relationship. In fact, when Ted Cruz held a rally in Washington, he said, could you come to my rally? And everybody thought, these people thought, that was strange. They said to me, well, when is the fighting between these two? Because we really like each other. When's the fighting going to start? Right, Ted? They said, when is the fighting going to start? And I said, don't worry, it'll start. And when it does, it's going to be vicious. And it was vicious. And now we love each other again. He's great. Ted Cruz. And he had a great victory against a man that spent almost $100 million. That's a lot of money. Spent almost $100 million, but that was a great victory. Thank you, Ted. Another man who's currently running against somebody. I kept thinking maybe Beto will jump in because he's at 0 right now. We hope he's going to jump in. Remember, no religion and no guns. I think that's not good. Oh, and I think he's like pretty light on oil production, too. But a man, and John, I have no idea who you're running against, but nobody's going to be able to beat John Cornyn. He's a good man. He's a good man. Thank you, John. And we have a lot of Congress people here. We have a woman who's fantastic, who's been a fan of ours right from the beginning, Kay Granger. Thank you, Kay. We have a man who's smart as hell, and he is tough, and he is mean and nasty, but he loves this state, and he's only mean and nasty because he wants to defend you and me and all of the horrible things that we all go through. Louis Gohmert. Louis. He's a great guy, been a great friend of mine. I'll tell you once we got him on board, he wouldn't leave us no matter what. And he had Mueller and everybody figured out long before anybody else had it figured out, right, Louis? A person who's been an incredible ally, again, loves your state, Randy Weber. Thank you, Randy. Great job. Thank you. One of the best lawyers you'll ever find. He's slick, he's smooth, but boy, he's loyal, he's talented, and he's got them all buffaloed because they're not as good as him, John Ratcliffe. Thank you, Jack. A man I saw on television last night defending me, brilliantly defending me. I actually don't like doing this usually, but I tweeted out, I said, "Thank you very much, Brian Babin. That was a great defense. I appreciate it." Thank you, Brian. That was great last night. See, I put a tweet out because it's easier than making a phone call and talking for a half hour. Thanks, Brian. I just said, thanks. And you know what? He'd rather have that too, actually, right? And Lance Gooden, special person, Lance Gooden. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Lance. And Lance was one of 60 people that stuck in there. He was unbelievable. And Ron Wright. Thank you, Ron. Great job. Great job. These are great people. These are great people, along with Republican Party chairs and all of these total winners. Here's one, Ronna McDaniel. I'll tell you what. You know, Ronna was the head of Michigan. Michigan hadn't been won by a Republican for decades, and it was tough. They all said you couldn't win Michigan. I said, why? We're getting these massive crowds, why? And she was in charge of Michigan. And I said, I want you to do me a favor, find out who this woman is. She's driving me crazy. She calls me just one more trip, sir. One more trip. Who is she? Who is she? And it was Ronna. And we won the state of Michigan. We won. And when it came time to picking somebody to head the RNC, Republican National Committee, I said, what about that woman that drove me crazy from Michigan? And it was Ronna, and she's done a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you, Ronna. Thank you. She's fantastic. And a great governor from your state. He's a great, great man. And a friend of mine. and together with your Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, I mean, you had a hurricane 2 years ago now. They still keep calling me for money. Sir, could you give us another one? The governor called up. Dan was there. You know, thank you for being so generous to Texas, sir. The hurricane, it was a big one. It was a bad one. A lot of water dump. I think the biggest dump of what, remember, kept going in and out, in and out. Our Coast Guard saved 16,000 lives. Thank you. But it kept going in and out. Water, water. And finally, I get a call. I paid billions and billions of dollars to the state. Like numbers, my people are driving me crazy. I get a call from the governor, and Dan is there. Where's Dan? Is he here? Where's Dan? Dan. Dan Patrick. And the two of them called me. And then I had Ted Cruz on my back, and I had John Cornyn on my back, and I had the congressman calling, and it was brutal. It wasn't even fair. And they said, sir, thank you for being so generous on the hurricane. They made a fortune. You made a fortune on the hurricane. Thank you for being so generous, sir. Sir, we want one more small request. Just a small, it's not much, and we appreciate you listening to us. We want to build a dam in the ocean so that if we ever have another hurricane, sir, the water won't be able to come in to Houston and all of the areas that it came into, sir. Do you think we could do it? I said, how much? It's only $10 billion. $10 billion! Right, Ted? Right? 10 billion they wanted, 10. And you know the way they sell it. And it's so good, they're salesmen, they're incredible salesmen. They say, it's only 10 billion, I'm supposed to be happy. Oh, let's see, could we give Texas an extra 10 billion for some crazy thing that may work and it may not, right? No, they're great people, they love your state. RNC co-chairman Tommy Hicks, a real friend of ours. Thank you, Tommy. And our great campaign manager, the most sophisticated man with a computer you've ever seen. Remember, they used to say with Hillary, her campaign is so sophisticated. Then after she lost, they said Trump's campaign was so sophisticated. And remember, she spent like 6 times more on this stuff than we did. You know, in the old days, my father taught me, if you can spend less, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, right? My father said, if you can spend less. So we spent much less than Hillary, crooked Hillary, crooked Hillary. Where are those emails, Hillary? They may find those 33,000 emails. They're looking. They may find those deleted emails. They may find them. Remember the emails that 33,000 emails covering her gym and her daughter's wedding. 33,000, that's a lot of emails for a wedding and working out. But Brad Parscale did a great job. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Thank you, Brad. And Secretary of Commerce, one of the legends of Wall Street, he was really like amazing, and he is doing an incredible job. Wilbur Ross. Thank you, Wilbur. Smart guy. And a friend of mine, he's another one. He was so tough. He was nasty, man. Boy, he hit me during the campaign. I said, that guy's ruthless. And when it was sort of over, there was nobody more gracious. And I called him. I made him Secretary of Energy. He's done a phenomenal job. And Rick Perry couldn't have done a better job. True, true. And he's going to be leaving at the end of the year and probably coming back here. Whatever he does, it's going to be successful. But he spent 3 years with us, and I want to thank you, Rick. What a job you've done. Thank you. What a job he's done. He was also a great governor of Texas, that you know. In everything we do, we're fighting for the faithful citizens of this country. This includes putting a stop to the catastrophic era of endless wars. Endless wars. They don't stop. They don't stop. They go on forever. We become policemen. we end up becoming police. We're policing these countries. That's not what it's about. We've spent $8 trillion in the Middle East. Thousands of American soldiers have lost their lives. Tens of thousands more have been severely wounded. And in all fairness, the other side has lost millions of people. Millions of people. Think of it. These wars brought mass chaos, instability, destruction, and death. Today, we choose a different path. We had tremendous success today. I don't know if you've seen. Look, we built in the last 3 years, we built the strongest military by far. And I told the story, I was embarrassed to tell it, but now I'll tell. When I first got in, a general told me we could have had a conflict with someone, said, "Sir, we don't have ammunition." And I said, I never want to hear a president, I just never want to hear somebody have that statement made to them again as President of the United States. We don't have ammunition. Think of how bad. Now we have so much ammunition, we don't know what to do with it. And as you all know, I guess you've been watching today, I sent Vice President Pence and Secretary of State Pompeo to lead an American delegation to meet with President Erdogan of Turkey. They got there today and it did work. Without spilling a drop of American blood, not one drop of American blood. We've all agreed on a pause or a ceasefire in the border region of Syria. And it was unconventional what I did. I said, they're going to have to fight a little while. Sometimes you have to let them fight a little while. Then people find out how tough the fighting is. These guys know right up here. These guys know. Right? Sometimes you have to let them fight. It's like two kids in a lot. You got to let them fight, and then you pull them apart. But it was unconventional. But they fought for a few days, and it was pretty vicious. And the Kurds, who are our friends, and Turkey's our friend. But they fought. It was tougher. I mean, it was nasty. And you couldn't make a deal for 15, think of it, for 15 years, 20 years, they couldn't make a deal. The Kurds didn't want to move. Turkey didn't want to budge. And Turkey was having a lot of bad things happen from this region, in all fairness to Turkey. They were having a lot of bad, but they didn't want to. Now all of a sudden they're fighting, and it's not fun having bullets going all over the place. And we went there, and we said, we want to pause. And the Kurds have been terrific. They're going to move back a little bit. We're going to keep ISIS all nice and locked up. Okay? We're going to find more of them. And Turkey's all set, and President Erdogan was great, and we're going to take the worst sanctions and tariffs and everything that I put on the country. We put the worst. I mean, I don't think they could have economically survived, but that doesn't matter. President Erdogan was a gentleman. He understood it. But without a little tough love, you know what tough love is, right? Without a little tough love, they would have never made this deal. President Obama lost 1 million people in the area. 1 million people. 1 million people. So now we're during a 5-day period. We're going to see if we can get it all finalized, and I think it will be. I think it will be. So Turkey's going to be happy. The Kurds are going to be happy. ISIS is going to be unhappy. We'll deal with whoever we have to deal with, but we'll get it done, and it's a great tribute to a lot of very talented people. And thank you to Vice President Pence, and thank you to Mike Pompeo. Good job. Good job. And they're traveling back to our country by night. They're traveling back, and they'll be back soon, and we'll have a big conference on it. But it was a terrific thing, and we've taken care of a lot of religious persecution. We added that in. A lot of things are in that agreement that nobody ever thought possible. So we have to fundamentally change our approach to homeland security. As an example, in that example, nobody would have ever done that. You have to be a little bit different to do it that way. I took a lot of heat, even from some of our congressmen, even from some of our senators, but now they're all happy, and I'm happy with them. I'm happy with them. Now, I don't know what about the Democrats. The Democrats will say, oh, what a terrible. Anything we do, the Democrats will criticize. If I said, like on the China deal, we get Beijing for $1, they would say, what a terrible deal. It just doesn't work with them. You know, the wall, we spent so much time with them on the wall. And I realized about 2 weeks ago, all I had to do was say, we will never build the wall. And they would have come through and they said, we demand that you build it. It would have been so much easier, right? Would have been so much easier, Ted. Would have been so much easier. American combat troops should not be at the center of ancient sectarian conflicts all over the world. Bring our soldiers back home. Bring our soldiers back home. The same people pushing us to fight endless wars overseas want us to open our borders to mass migration from these war-torn and terror-afflicted regions. Their policies would import terrorism right onto our shores with American-issued visas. Oh, isn't that wonderful? And by the way, the Democrats want open borders. They want everybody to flow in. They want those caravans to flow in. The caravans. And they wouldn't get rid of the loopholes, but you know what? Mexico's been great. Mexico today had 27,000 soldiers on our border. And we've stopped this horrible migration of people. And many of them are bad people. You know, when countries send them up, they're not sending their finest, okay? Use your heads. They're not sending their finest. You got to see some of the people. But now we send them back. And by the way, ICE is fantastic. They've taken out thousands and thousands of MS-13 killers. They've taken thousands of killers and brought them back. And now we've made deals with Guatemala and Honduras and El Salvador and Mexico. But we've made deals now where we can bring back. There are 45,000 people waiting in Mexico, but it's going to be very tough for these people ever to get back. When did you ever hear that? Used to have no people waiting in Mexico. They just flood. Our borders are getting strong. When the wall is complete, they'll be as strong as any borders anywhere in the world. My administration believes in a simple principle. The best way to keep foreign terrorists out of America is to deny them, just deny them, admission in the first place. It's really pretty simple. And that is why I have imposed, and we had passed, and we won at the United States Supreme Court, a travel ban on some of the world's most dangerous countries and places. But if Democrats seize power, they would throw the floodgates wide open, wide open. We would have people coming into our country. Look at what's going on in California, and the people of California don't want it. They say, come into California. We'll give you free health care, free education. Why wouldn't? I may even move to California if they keep going. No, but all it does is it brings everybody in. What's wrong with these people? We're rebuilding our military stronger than ever before, and we are not going to deplete it again on stupid, senseless, endless wars. We've invested more than $2.5 trillion restoring our armed forces, and all of it was built in the USA. And that includes approving the construction of almost 200 F-35 fighters, stealth. And many of them are built right here, you know that, right? In Fort Worth. As we restore our security, we're also restoring our prosperity. America is winning again, and America is respected again. And by the way, I have to say this. So outside, they have close to 30,000 people. And I wonder if I could ask the fire marshal, fill up this little area, let them in. It'd be so nice. You know, they have a certain max. We broke the record tonight. Good place. Last month, unemployment reached its lowest level in 51 years. 7 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps since the election. What a great. 1.3 million children have been lifted out of poverty. Think of that. And African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment rates have reached the lowest levels in history. Our great Hispanic American population has reached a poverty level which is an all-time low in U.S. history. And after years of stagnation, wages for Hispanic Americans are rising fast, up nearly 8% since my election, and everybody in the fake news would have said that's absolutely impossible. Median income, think of this, median income for Hispanic Americans has surpassed $50,000 a year for the first time ever. With Republicans in Congress, we passed the largest package of tax cuts and reform by far in American history. By the way, the Democrats want to raise your taxes, you know. I don't mean a little bit. I don't mean a little bit. I mean like double them up, triple them up, and it still won't pay for the nonsense they want. We eliminated a record number of regulations, and we ended the war on a thing called American energy, which is very good for Texas. Since my election, natural gas production in Texas has increased 35%, and oil production has increased by 60%, 60. And the United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. Yet every major Democrat running for president wants to abolish all production of oil and natural gas. I think they want to go to windmills. Windmills, you know. Darling, I want to watch Trump speak tonight. We can't, darling. The wind isn't blowing. They want windmills. In other words, they want to annihilate your Texas economy. Can you imagine? No more oil, no more natural gas. So here we have a few people, right? No guns, no religion, no oil, no natural gas. Abraham Lincoln could not win Texas under those circumstances. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it, Ted.